Sophia with the Red Thread Cafe live at Venice. And I'm here with my dear friend Christine Arylo. And we're having cafe at the beach talking about the intersection, the woven place between our work in the world, the sacred work of self-love and intentional creativity.
For me, I don't know how to access what's in here, which is the love that's here that mostly we think about giving to others, but really the person that needs it usually the most first is ourselves. And there's so many ways to access it. There's meditation, there's poetry, and it's all really, I think, about creativity like that. Like I don't know how to help people even get in here without using our creative senses and opening that up, because it can be so blocked.
Yeah. So many times the stories that have happened to us, the experiences, the relationships, the failures actually block us to our internal experience of ourselves. You know how everyone keeps talking about, you have to go inside, you have to meditate, you have to do this, you have to do that, but how do you actually do that? How do you get inside, and how do you begin to work with what Christine and Amy call your inner mean girl? Some people call the critic or the perfectionist. Sometimes I call it the predator, based on how cruel it can actually be. How do you get in there and get conscious of that so you can actually work with it and transform the negative self-talk, which is so much of what I love about your work, is that you're so committed to people learning how to eliminate their negative self-talk.
We want to chop it up, just like this helicopter that's going by. Imagine, like, just chop it up. Just like, because it gets us all blocked up. And I haven't met a person yet on the planet, just for all of you to know, that doesn't have it show up. Like doubt and fear and shame and guilt and blame, it's all the source of that negative self-talk. And you know this, it stops you cold from going for your dreams, from having the relationships that we want. And so a few years ago, I just basically stood up in my living room and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give up negative self-talk. Like, you know, I gave up smoking, I gave up drinking Diet Pop, I gave up, having toxic relationships. Why not just give up negative self-talk? And I don't think we know that we can actually do that. Like, did you know, like, you can just decide to give it up?
And once you make that decision, it's not an instant magical formula. There's work that needs to be done, and that's a lot of what our work is about. But it starts with that stand for yourself, which is a kind of an initiation that Christine had of like, actually, I'm not going to have that dialogue anymore. I'm going to actually transform how I'm speaking to myself and the kindness I'm willing to show myself, which is so much about the self-love that you are teaching, is teaching people how to be kind and compassionate and gentle with their super tender souls.
This negative self-talk starts as young as 6. And I'll never forget when I went to go visit my goddess daughter Jane out in Chicago when she was 5, and I asked her if she compared herself to others. And she said, and Christine, like, what's comparison? She had no idea. And then I went back a year later and she had a raging inner critic inner mean girl named Victoria, who she's since transformed into a superheroine in her latest set of novels. That's a vampire slayer. So she was saying it for good, but was so hard on her and was comparing herself to her older sister. And I was like, God, this little 7-year-old, right? And we have that little 7-year-old inside of us. And we need to be gentle and loving. And self-love isn't some concept. It's not like, and it can feel that way. Like, it feels very esoteric and like, what does it even mean? But one specific thing is giving up negative self-talk and then using things like intentional creativity, accessing what Shiloh calls the muse, right? And that can shift that energy. And if we all made that promise to ourselves this year, if we all took a stand, which is really the invitation that we're making to the world, to make that promise on Self-Love Day. Because if we all did it on the day that's all about self-love, it just basically will have a ripple effect through the quantum field. Well, it doesn't feel like it will. It would. And we can eradicate negative self-talk off the planet. How awesome would that be?
Imagine if that was even possible for a moment. Just like enter into the dream space of how different would our life be if we were making decisions about our relationships, our creative endeavors, our future, the world, the sustainability of the planet, if we were actually moving from a space of clear witness of yourself and your goodness. That doesn't mean not being aware and discerning of the ways that you need to clean up your act. It's not about that. The voice is different when it's giving you wisdom and guidance than it is when it's telling you you can't. I mean, one of the most primary, there are several iterations of the inner mean girl and how she speaks to you. Of course, you're familiar with them, that you're not good enough, who do you think you are? If you're really who you are, they're not going to pay attention to you. And ultimately, it stops you from even the capacity to dream in the way that you would dream if you were a person who was claiming themselves. And so part of our work is definitely, as I'm standing here, I just feel like one of our many commonalities, different ways that we approach it. But one is self-initiation, that we like to call you into experiences of self-initiation. And the one that we're working on right now and holding is one of self-initiation, which means first you get conscious that this has been happening. Step number one, we're inviting you to get conscious of how it's been operating and also the impact it's been having in your life, what it has cost you to believe a voice that says they're not going to love you. Like, what would be possible if you were able to surrender that? You don't have to do it alone, and I think it's so important for you to know that we've all had it, we're all dealing with it. You are really not alone in it. That's the other thing it tells you, that you're all alone and there's no one else like you. It's one of the biggest ones that separates us from each other, is that you're all alone. So we're asking you to get conscious that this is operating in your life. You probably already know, but this is a new moment to get it aware. And then we're asking you to be a part of a self-initiation where you're choosing to give up with thousands of other people negative self-talk.
Imagine the world, imagine your world and what it would be like to have this vessel, this heart, this head full of loving thoughts, kind thoughts, supportive thoughts, instead of sabotaging ones.
And then being with community, others that will say to you, you're doing it. Because we're creating actually a culture of consciousness around noticing when we're doing it. When are we being hard on ourselves? And we don't always notice. We don't know what's happening. But when someone says, you're doing it,
they fly in. Wait, this is what we do this for each other. We fly in like this beautiful helicopter, and we chop up all that stuff and say to your friend, that's my friend you're talking to. Be nice to yourself. And it breaks the psychotic loop. Breaks that inner mean girl, inner bully, because we don't even know what Shiloh's saying. So you are now empowered to also offer that to your friends. Say, like, you know what? That's my friend you're talking to.
Yeah,
be nice to you.
It's a shift personally, but it's a shift culturally, and it's something that we're committed to in our communities, is that change. And then from there are so many things that you can go to. In the intentional creativity work, you begin to cultivate, after you give up negative self-talk and the relationship to the critic the way that it was operating before. Then you begin to pursue the voice of the creative self, and you work in creative form in the physical universe, through journaling, through drawing, through dancing, through yoga, and you consciously, intentionally choose to begin to bring the positive voice, the voice of loving kindness, into a place where that's what you begin to hear. But you know what? It doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice, and that's why we continue to talk about it, continue to invite you to circles, and we're inviting you to a red thread circle and superpower self-love circle tomorrow.
Self-Love Day, February 13th, Friday the 13th. It is not a bad omen. It is a superpower day for self-love. We hope that you can join us, and we're going to be live streaming from Shiloh Sophia Studios and in Venice, and also be here live for those of you that are in Los Angeles. You can check it all out at selfloveday.com. We would love to have you.
And tomorrow we'll be doing a little bit of intentional creativity as well, and I will be reading my poem. I'm so excited. Christine selected a poem that will be revealed to you tomorrow.
It's the official 2015 self-love poem. It's amazing, of course. You're an amazing poet.
I feel so honored, and we'll be giving you a chance to explore some of your creativity and music and other poets. It's going to be a wonderful experience, and we hope you'll join us cosmically, virtually, and in person. And we're just so grateful that we get to have this conversation with each other. We spent the entire cafe morning talking to each other about the patterns in our lives, what we're seeing, what we want to transform now, what is it like to be spiritual beings in a business world, and really that's what we do. And then we decide we're going to bring it to you. This video is totally spontaneous. We're like, we had such a great morning talking to each other. We're like, we're now going to talk to you about
no makeup, just hats.
Yeah, we were going to do pajamas, but then we decided to go to the beach. But we're so grateful that we have people in our lives like you who want to have this conversation with us. We just feel so blessed. We just send you love right now, and thank you for being a part of our life. The red thread is extended to you right where you are.